Welcome to another episode of the Bark Brigade podcast by Dogazilla Magazine. Today we will talk with an expert for service dog training.
Thank you. It's really great to be here.
So imagine you're just, walking through a busy grocery store.
Right.
To you, it's just a quick, mundane errand to grab some milk and bread.
Just a normal Tuesday.
Exactly. But to the dog walking quietly next to you, it's this intense, high-stakes matrix of information.
Oh, absolutely.
Their brain is actively filtering out thousands of chaotic noises. The clatter of shopping carts, the hum of the refrigerators.
Yeah, they have to ignore all of that.
They're ignoring the smell of a spilled rotisserie chicken in aisle 4. They're tracking the movement of like 3 toddlers running past.
Which is not easy for a dog.
Right. And simultaneously, they are continuously sampling your actual blood chemistry through the air.
It really is wild when you think about it.
It is. They are ready to physically intervene before you even consciously realize you're about to have a medical emergency.
Yeah, they know before we do.
So today, our mission for this deep dive into the Dogozilla magazine's source material, specifically their guide on the service dog training process, is to completely map out this incredible transformational journey.
It's a huge journey, from puppyhood to public access.
It really is. We are going to explore the hidden cognitive world of these canine heroes. This is your ultimate shortcut to understanding the genetics, the advanced behavioral science, and, the immense daily dedication required to shape a dog into a vital lifeline, a lifeline that fundamentally changes the life of the human they serve.
It's a profound journey. And for you, the listener, I want you to just pause for a second and imagine the immense, absolute trust required in this partnership.
Wow. Yeah.
You are relying on an animal for a vital medical alert or for your physical navigation through a crowded city street with oncoming traffic.
Putting your life in their paws, literally.
Literally. You're placing your safety, your independence, and sometimes your very life in the paws of a dog. That level of reliance requires an education process that is nothing short of extraordinary.
I can't even imagine.
We're looking at a system that takes raw genetic potential and molds it into a highly calibrated medical device.
Okay, let's unpack this because right out of the gate, we need to completely shatter a common public misconception.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of confusion out there.
When we talk about these specific working dogs, we are not talking about cute pets who know how to sit or, shake hands or just look adorable in a vest.
No, not at all.
We are talking about highly specialized working partnerships. But before we can even get into the mechanics of how we train them, we first need to establish what they actually do and who they are.
Because not every good boy is cut out for the job.
Right. And out in the real world, the waters have gotten incredibly muddy. People constantly confuse service dogs, therapy dogs, and emotional support animals.
All the time.
And that confusion isn't just annoying, it actually has real-world consequences, right?
Huge consequences. The distinction is legally, practically, and psychologically vital. Let's draw the hard lines here.
Please do.
A service dog is protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, because it is specifically trained to perform tasks that directly mitigate the impact of a person's disability.
Okay, so it's about a specific, trained task.
That is the core legal and functional definition. They are doing specific, trained, physical, or cognitive work. They're not there just to exist, They're there to execute a job.
Right. And if we look at the other categories, you have emotional support animals, or ESAs.
Right, ESAs.
These dogs provide profound comfort to individuals with mental health conditions. But, and I think this is a massive distinction, they do not require any specialized task training.
Exactly. Their mere presence is what provides the benefit.
Yeah, and because they aren't task trained, they do not have general public access rights to go into restaurants or grocery stores.
That's a point people miss a lot.
Then you have therapy dogs. These are animals trained to provide comfort, but they do it in controlled facilities, right? Like hospitals, schools, or nursing homes.
Yes, and under the supervision of trained professionals.
So they go to work to help other people, not their handler. And they only have access to the specific facilities they're invited to.
That's spot on.
I like to frame it this way for people who are confused. An emotional support dog is like a wonderful, comforting friend who comes over to hold your hand when you're going through a crisis.
That's a great analogy.
And a therapy dog is like a visiting volunteer cheering up a hospital ward.
Right.
But a service dog is an on-duty paramedic.
Yes.
It's a highly trained, legally protected medical necessity performing a critical, life-saving job.
That is a perfect framework.
Got it.
And the reason we must aggressively protect this distinction, the why behind the legal boundaries, is because blurring these lines actively harms the disability community.
How so?
Well, when someone attempts to pass off an untrained pet or an emotional support animal as a service dog just so they can bring their puppy into a cafe, they are doing immense damage.
Because the dog isn't trained for that environment.
Exactly. If that untrained dog barks, pulls on the leash, or snaps at a customer, it destroys public trust.
Oh, I see.
It creates deep skepticism and structural barriers for the person with a disability who walks into that same cafe the next day and actually relies on their legitimately trained service dog to keep them alive.
That is so unfair to the actual handlers.
It really is. Business owners become hostile, access gets challenged, and a person's independence is directly threatened.
So if a service dog is essentially a highly calibrated medical device, like we said, you can't just build it out of any raw material.
Definitely not.
Which brings us to genetics. Not every dog can do this. You can't just pick a breed because you like the way their ears flop.
I wish you could, but no.
It really comes down to essential personality traits, evolutionary history, and physical characteristics. And looking at the source material, the big four we see dominating this field are Labrador retrievers, golden retrievers, German shepherds, and standard poodles.
Yep, the big four.
Let's break down the science of why, maybe starting with the labs.
Sure. So to understand the Labrador Retriever's dominance in this field, we have to look at their evolutionary history. These dogs were bred in the 19th century to work on fishing boats in the freezing waters off Newfoundland.
Freezing waters. Wow.
Right. And what did they need to do? They had to sit calmly on a rocky, unstable boat for hours without getting anxious.
That takes a lot of chill.
It does. They had to have immense physical stamina to swim. They had to have what we call a soft mouth to retrieve fish or nets without damaging them.
Oh, a soft mouth. I've heard that term.
Yeah. And they had to stare at the water, highly focused, just waiting for a command.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. If you translate those genetics to modern service work, it makes perfect sense. A dog that can sit on a boat for 6 hours can sit quietly under a restaurant table or a desk in a university lecture hall.
That is brilliant.
And a dog with a soft mouth can be taught to gently pick up a dropped, fragile plastic medication bottle without crushing it.
Oh, wow. That's incredibly specific and useful.
They have the physical stamina to walk all day in a harness, but also the eager-to-please intelligence that makes them highly trainable for complex medical alerts.
That is fascinating. The historical application just maps perfectly onto the modern disability need.
It really does.
Then we have golden retrievers. I mean, they share a lot of the retrieving history, but they have a slightly different emotional profile, don't they?
Yes, Goldens possess a natural softness to their temperament.
They just seem so sweet.
They are. They are incredibly deeply attuned to human emotion. This makes them exceptional for mobility impairments where a gentle touch is needed, but it makes them absolute superstars for certain types of psychiatric and emotional support work.
Because they just want to love you?
Pretty much. They have a natural desire to lean in and comfort when they sense distress.
But then we pivot to a completely different type of dog, the German Shepherd.
Yes.
We usually associate them with police and military work, but they're also heavily utilized for service dog tasks, right? Specifically mobility assistance, psychiatric support for veterans, and search and rescue.
Very heavily utilized, yes.
But their processing engine is totally different from a retriever's, isn't it?
Completely different. The German Shepherd was bred in the late 1800s to independently trot for up to 50 miles a day, analyzing flocks of sheep and constantly scanning the horizon for wolves.
50 miles a day, that's insane stamina.
It is. They were bred to identify threats and manage complex environments with an independent processing engine. They have incredible physical strength, fierce loyalty, and just intense focus.
So if we compare how intelligence and physical stamina influence breed suitability, it really is a complex puzzle of matching the dog's genetic baseline to the specific disability.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how these natural genetic predispositions dictate success or failure in different roles.
Give me an example.
Well, let's contrast the temperament needs of a psychiatric service dog helping someone with severe PTSD versus a physical mobility assistance dog.
Okay, let's look at the psychiatric one first.
For the psychiatric service dog, you need a dog that is emotionally sensitive, naturally calming, and willing to perform what we call deep pressure therapy.
Deep pressure therapy. What exactly does that look like?
This is where the dog is trained to use their physical body weight to lay across the handler's chest or legs during a panic attack.
Oh, like a weighted blanket.
Exactly like that. Physiologically, the weight of the dog stimulates the handler's vagus nerve. It shifts the body from the sympathetic nervous system's fight-or-flight mode into the parasympathetic rest and digest mode.
That is amazing. So it physically forces the body to calm down.
Right. It naturally lowers the heart rate and reduces cortisol. And a German Shepherd or a Golden Retriever can be excellent at this because of their strong bonds and deep attunement to their handler.
But if we look at a physical mobility assistance dog, say, a dog helping someone who uses a wheelchair, or providing counterbalance for someone with a neurological condition that affects their gait, the requirements completely shift, don't they?
Oh, 100%. A mobility dog might need to open heavy commercial doors, pull a manual wheelchair up a slight incline, or stand absolutely rock solid like a pillar so their handler can use their shoulders to brace and stand up after a fall.
Wow, that sounds physically demanding.
It is. That requires serious physical strength, heavy bone density, and an unshakable focus.
So you can't just use any dog for that.
No, if you take a dog that is too emotionally sensitive, the physical strain and the pressure of bracing a human might cause them psychological stress.
Right, they might get anxious.
Exactly. On the flip side, if you have a dog that is pure muscle but lacks emotional attunement, they wouldn't excel at psychiatric support.
That makes total sense. And what about guiding the visually impaired?
The demands there are even more extreme. That dog has to navigate chaotic city streets, completely ignoring traffic, dropped food, and other animals.
It's basically an obstacle course.
It requires an exceptional balance of intelligence, physical stamina to stay in a harness for hours, and supreme self-confidence.
Okay, so we've got the raw genetic material, we've selected the perfect breed with the right physical structure, and passed all the orthopedic health clearances, of course.
Crucial step, yes.
And we have the right temperament traits for the specific job. But raw potential isn't a trained dog.
Far from it.
How do we actually mold them? According to the deep dive source, this is a massive chronological roadmap. It takes an average of 2 years to fully train a service dog.
2 years, yes. Often more.
Let's start at the very beginning, like week 8, when you bring this tiny puppy home. What's step 1?
The foundation begins the moment that puppy opens its eyes. But the active work for a handler starts the day the dog comes home. The absolute most critical phase is early socialization, which occurs between roughly 8 and 16 weeks of age.
8 to 16 weeks, that's a short window.
It is a critical neurological window where the puppy's brain is like a sponge, permanently filing away information about what is safe and what is dangerous.
And we should clarify, because I think a lot of people hear the word socialization and they think it just means taking the puppy to the dog park to play with a bunch of other dogs.
Oh, no. That is actually the opposite of what we want for a service.
Really? Why?
Socialization in this context is about habituation. It is about introducing the puppy to a massive variety of sights, sounds, surfaces, and environments in a highly controlled, positive way so that nothing faces them as adults.
Oh, so it's not about making friends, it's about ignoring weird stuff.
Exactly. We want them to walk on metal grates, shiny linoleum floors, and unstable surfaces. We want them to hear sirens, loud crowds, and umbrellas popping open.
Umbrellas. Dogs hate umbrellas.
They do, but the goal is environmental neutrality. We want the dog to look at a chaotic world and think, I've seen this before, and it's boring.
That is such a cool way to put it, environmental neutrality. Because if a dog is terrified of sliding glass doors or the sound of a bus air brake, they can't focus on their handler's medical needs.
Precisely. They can't do their job if they're panicking.
So moving past that neurological window, we get into obedience. Now, we all know what basic obedience looks like, right? A dog learning to sit, stay, heel, and come when called.
Basic pet stuff, yeah.
But for a service dog, sit isn't just a trick you do in the kitchen for a treat. It has to be bulletproof. How do trainers bridge the gap between a puppy sitting in a quiet living room and a dog holding a stay command in the middle of a crowded airport terminal?
The mechanism there is called generalization.
Generalization, okay.
Yeah, dogs are incredibly poor generalizers, naturally. To a dog, sit in the kitchen and sit on a noisy sidewalk are two completely different commands.
Wait, really? They don't just know what sit means universally?
Nope. The context changes everything for them. So the trainer has to slowly, systematically increase the level of distraction, duration, and distance.
That sounds tedious.
It's a lot of repetition. And this
Yeah.
brings up a crucial point about how we teach this. The standard in the service dog industry is positive reinforcement.
Okay.
If we compare positive reinforcement techniques versus traditional force-based or compulsion training styles, The difference in the final product is profound.
Right, the old school yank and crank methods with choke chains.
Exactly. When you use pain or fear to train a dog, you elevate their cortisol levels.
The stress hormone.
Yes. And neurologically, high cortisol blocks the prefrontal cortex, the learning and problem-solving part of the brain.
Oh, wow, so they literally can't learn as well when they're scared.
Right. A dog trained through force might obey out of fear, but they will shut down in a high-stress public environment. They stop thinking.
They just freeze.
Exactly. But positive reinforcement, using markers like a clicker and rewards, triggers the release of dopamine. It builds a dog that actually wants to work.
They enjoy the game.
They do. It creates an animal that is confident, engaged, and actively trying to figure out how to earn their reward. For a service dog, they absolutely must be a willing, thinking partner.
That makes complete sense. You want an active participant, not a prisoner.
Well said.
Because once they have that rock-solid generalized obedience, we move into the truly mind-blowing stuff, task-specific training.
This is the best part.
Here's where it gets really interesting. This is where we take a dog and teach them to detect invisible medical conditions, like a sudden drop in blood sugar for a diabetic, or an oncoming epileptic seizure.
It's like magic, but it's science.
I mean, how on earth does a dog know someone's blood sugar is crashing?
Well, it all comes down to the mechanics of scent work and the sheer biological power of the canine nose.
Which is legendary.
Oh, yeah. A dog's sense of smell is anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive than ours.
100,000 times. I can't even wrap my head around that.
It's incredible. Their olfactory bulb is proportionally massive, and they possess a specialized organ called the vomeronal organ, or Jacobson's organ.
Jacobson's organ, what does that do?
It allows them to literally taste and analyze chemical compounds in the air.
Taste the air. Like a snake.
Kind of, yeah. So when a person's blood sugar drops rapidly, their body chemistry fundamentally changes. They begin emitting volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, specifically isoprene chemicals, through their breath and sweat.
And the dog picks up on that.
Yes. To a dog, this chemical shift produces a very distinct odor, often described as sweet or fruity.
Okay, so the dog can smell it. That's the biology. But how do you train them to care about it? Like, how do they learn to detect specific medical alerts for conditions like epilepsy or diabetes and actually warn the human?
That's where the training comes in. We capture the scent.
Capture it how?
During a medical event, say, an aura right before a seizure or blood sugar crash, the handler will swab their own saliva or sweat with a sterile cotton roll and freeze it.
Oh, wow. So you freeze your own sweat.
Yeah. That swab is now a biological snapshot of the chemical emergency.
That is so cool.
Then, the trainer takes that frozen swab, puts it in a small tin with holes in it, and introduces it to the dog. The dog sniffs it, the trainer clicks the clicker, and the dog gets a massive high-value reward, like a piece of hot dog.
So they associate the smell of the medical emergency with getting a hot dog.
We are building an association. This specific chemical smell equals a jackpot.
So they are essentially playing a game where finding that specific chemical signature pays off big time.
Yes. And then we move to discrimination. We put out 5 tins, and only one has the target scent. The dog has to sniff all 5 and indicate usually by pawing or nudging the correct tin.
Like the shell game.
Exactly. Once they master that, the target scent is hidden on the handler's body. Eventually, the dog learns to generalize the game. They realize, wait, the jackpot smell is happening right now in real time for my human?
Oh my gosh.
And they will naturally offer the alert behavior, pawing the handler's leg or nudging their hand to say, hey, I smell the thing, pay me.
And then the handler knows.
Right, the handler knows they have about 10 to 15 minutes to take their medication or get to a safe place before the medical crisis hits.
That gives me chills. The dog is literally smelling a chemical change before the human's brain even registers the physiological symptom.
It's life-saving.
But it's not just scent work, is it? We also see service dogs trained in agility and complex problem solving. Why does a service dog need agility training? We aren't entering them in obstacle course competitions, right?
No, not at all. Agility training isn't about speed. It is about building intense body awareness, coordination, and the ability to adapt to complex environments.
Like what kind of environments?
Well, the real world is an obstacle course. A service dog needs to navigate narrow grocery store aisles, step safely over an open subway grate, which looks terrifying to a dog, by the way.
Oh, I bet. Like a bottomless pit.
Exactly. They have to balance on an escalator and maneuver through dense crowds without stepping on people's feet. Agility builds the physical confidence to handle unpredictable environments with ease.
That makes total sense. And that ties directly into cognitive development, right? We see trainers using puzzle games and complex commands to boost a service dog's cognitive abilities. Why is it so important that these dogs learn how to think critically?
Because if we connect this to the bigger picture, you aren't just programming a robot with a list of commands. You are developing an independent, analyzing partner. We actually train them in a concept called intelligent disobedience.
Oh, I love this concept. Explain what intelligent disobedience is, because I feel like it goes against everything people think about regular dog training.
It really does. So let's say you have a guide dog assisting a visually impaired handler. They're standing at an intersection. The handler listens to the traffic flow, thinks it's clear, and gives the command, forward.
Okay.
But an electric car, which is completely silent, has just turned the corner and is speeding through the crosswalk.
Oh, no.
The dog has been given a direct command by its master to walk forward. A standard obedience dog will walk forward into the car.
Because they're just following orders.
Exactly.
Right.
But a service dog is trained to analyze the environment, recognize the fatal danger, and actively disobey the handler's command. The dog will refuse to move, or even physically block the handler from stepping off the curb. Overriding a master's command requires immense cognitive dissonance and supreme self-confidence.
I can't imagine how hard that is to teach.
You only get that from a dog whose brain has been developed through complex problem-solving puzzles from puppyhood.
When you lay it out like that and you share examples of how these specific tasks transform the daily lives of their human companions, the impact is staggering.
It's completely life-altering.
A mobility dog providing counterbalance means a person with multiple sclerosis can walk to the park alone without fear of falling.
Exactly.
A diabetes alert dog means a teenager can sleep through the night without their parents terrified they will slip into a coma. An epilepsy dog allows someone to go to college because they know the dog will alert them before a grand mal seizure hits.
It gives them their life back.
It isn't just help, it is total life transformation and independence.
Absolutely.
But here is where we hit the massive crossroads in this journey. Knowing the sheer, overwhelming complexity of this 2-year chronological roadmap from the 8-week neurological window to environmental habituation to advanced scent discrimination and intelligent disobedience, who actually does all this work?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. If I am listening to this and I need a service dog, I have to figure out how to get one. I essentially have 2 paths. I hire a professional organization, or I train the dog myself. Let's really dig into the pros and cons of owner training versus professional training, because this is where a lot of dreams are made or shattered.
It is the most critical decision a handler will make.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at owner training first. Under the ADA in the United States, individuals are legally permitted to train their own service dogs.
Oh, legally they are.
Yes. The main benefits of owner training are primarily financial and personal. Professional service dogs are astonishingly expensive. By owner training, you are avoiding the massive upfront fees of a facility.
Which is a huge deal for a lot of people.
Definitely. Furthermore, you build a very intimate, deeply tailored bond with the dog from day one, and you can customize the task training specifically to the unique nuances of your exact disability.
Hey, wait. Let me push back on this, because I see this debate online all the time.
Go for it.
Let's say I am highly motivated because this is for my own independence. I've had dogs my whole life. I've raised great, well-behaved family pets. I buy an incredibly well-bred golden retriever puppy. I read all the training manuals. I watch the professional tutorials online. I know my own disability better than anyone else on earth. Why can't I just do this myself? What is the specific wall that owner trainers hit that causes them to fail?
It is an incredibly valid question, and the specific wall they hit is the reality of behavioral shaping, micro-timing, and the sheer volume of washouts.
Washouts, what does that mean?
Even professional organizations with decades of experience, heavily vetted genetics, and teams of behavioral scientists have a washout rate, meaning the dog is released from the program because they aren't suitable for service work of 50% to 70%.
Wait, 70%? The pros fail over half the time.
Let that sink in.
Ah,
The pros fail over half the time because the standard is just so incredibly high.
that is insane.
The common mistakes owners make when first starting their training journey stem from a lack of deep behavioral expertise. You might be a great pet owner, but animal behavioral science requires microscopic precision.
Give me an example of what an owner might mess up.
Well, a handler might accidentally reinforce a negative behavior without realizing it. The timing of a reward, The half-second window where the brain associates the click with the action is easily missed by an amateur.
Half a second. Yeah, I'd probably miss that.
Right. Or consider a bad public encounter. Let's say you take your 8-month-old dog in training to a grocery store and a stack of metal carts crashes to the floor right next to them. The dog gets terrified.
Naturally.
A professional trainer knows exactly how to read the dog's micro-body language, de-escalate the fear, and immediately counter-condition the dog so the trauma doesn't stick.
And an owner-trainer might not know how to do that.
An owner-trainer might panic, pull the dog away, and accidentally cement that fear into the dog's permanent psychology. That one event can completely ruin the dog's potential to ever work in public safely.
Wow, just one mistake.
The burden of assuming full responsibility for the dog's behavioral outcome is crushing.
So, while owner training is legally possible, the risk of failure is astronomically high if you don't know the deep mechanics of what you are doing.
Exactly.
Let's look at the professional training side. I mean, the pros are obvious. Expert guidance. You are getting comprehensive training that adheres to international standards. It saves the handler thousands of hours of intense daily labor, and you get certification credibility, which, while not legally required, makes public life vastly easier.
It really does.
But the cons are severe. We are talking about staggering costs and agonizing waiting lists, address the frequently asked questions regarding training costs and the expected time commitments for a professional dog. What are we looking at?
The reality is that professional service dog training costs range from $15,000 to $25,000, and sometimes well over $30,000 depending on the complexity of the medical tasks.
$30,000. That is a car.
Is a massive investment, and the expected time commitment to fully train a dog, whether you do it or a pro does it, is roughly 18 months to 2 full years. And if you're waiting for an organization to provide you with a fully trained dog, you might be on a waiting list for 3 to 5 years.
That is a devastating timeline for someone who needs help right now.
It is heart-wrenching.
Which is why many people are forced into a hybrid model, right? They buy a puppy, but they hire a professional to guide them.
Yes, hybrid training is becoming very popular.
For newcomers trying to start this process safely, it is essential to understand the sheer volume of work. Can you outline a simple training schedule concept? What does a day in the life of training a service dog actually look like? Because you can't just take them to a 1-hour puppy class on Saturday mornings and call it a day.
Absolutely not. It is a daily, unyielding lifestyle. A typical day requires dedicated hours broken into small, intense sessions.
Break it down for me.
You might spend 20 minutes in the morning working on basic obedience and impulse control before breakfast.
Okay, manageable.
In the afternoon, you might do an hour of public access exposure, taking the dog to a hardware store just to walk the aisles and practice ignoring distractions.
An hour at the hardware store.
In the evening, you spend 30 minutes on specific task training, like scent discrimination or retrieval work.
Still sounds like a part-time job.
But wait, interwoven through the entire day is constant behavioral management. You are always training. Every interaction is shaping the dog.
And this highlights exactly why working with experienced professional trainers is vital for success, even if you are doing the daily work yourself. Why is expert supervision absolutely critical for advanced service tasks?
Because teaching a dog to identify medical alerts or safely guide you around obstacles requires an in-depth understanding of how to sequence behaviors. If you train a mobility bracing task incorrectly, you could permanently destroy the dog's spine and joints.
Oh, that's terrifying.
If you train an epilepsy alert incorrectly, the dog might start false alerting just to get treats, or they might miss the actual biochemical shift. Professional oversight ensures that the behavioral mechanics are sound, the dog's physical health is protected, and it ensures the highest standards for public access safety.
Okay, so let's fast forward. The 2 years of grueling work have passed. The thousands of dollars have been spent. The hundreds of hours of daily training sessions are complete. The dog is a finely tuned, task-trained partner.
The finish line.
You would think that is the finish line, but really it is just the starting line. Because once the dog is fully trained, the real journey begins, stepping out the front door into a chaotic, unpredictable, and often ignorant public world.
That is the hardest part for many.
Navigating the real world is where the psychological toll on the handler really takes shape. Let's outline the key legal rights and public access laws for service dog handlers, specifically under the ADA in the United States, because this dictates everything.
The Americans with Disabilities Act is the shield that protects these handlers. Under the ADA, state and local governments, businesses, and nonprofit organizations that serve the public generally must allow service animals to accompany people with disabilities in all areas of the facility where the public is allowed to go.
So basically everywhere.
Yes. This means a service dog is legally permitted in restaurants, grocery stores, hospitals, hotels, and airplanes, regardless of any general no pet policies. They are not considered pets under the law. They are medical equipment.
But business owners don't always know that. And the law is actually very specific about what a business owner or employee can ask to verify the dog. They cannot ask you to prove your disability, right?
Correct. The ADA protects the medical privacy of the handler. If it is not blindly obvious what service the dog provides, for example, if the dog isn't actively pulling a wheelchair staff, may ask only two specific questions.
Only two.
Only two. One, is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? And two, what work or task has the dog been trained to perform?
So they can't ask what's wrong with you.
No. They cannot ask about the person's disability, require medical documentation, require a special identification card or training documentation for the dog, or ask that the dog demonstrate its ability to perform the work.
While that protects privacy, it creates a very complex dynamic in the real world. So we need to share some simple starter tips to help new handlers prepare for their training journey and their public life. Even though the ADA doesn't require vests, ID cards, or certification papers, what is the practical reality on the ground?
The practical reality is that you will face challenges. Many handlers choose to vest their dogs simply as a visual deterrent to the public. It immediately signals this dog is working.
It's just easier.
It is. As a practical tip for beginners, even though it is not legally mandated, carrying a letter from your healthcare provider or a training log can be incredibly helpful.
Just to smooth things over.
Exactly. If a poorly trained restaurant manager tries to deny you access, sometimes handing them a piece of paper de-escalates the situation much faster than arguing constitutional law while your dinner gets cold. You have to pick your battles.
That is great practical advice. But public access is a two-way street. Legal access comes with immense handler responsibilities. The ADA protects the dog's presence, but it does not protect bad behavior.
Absolutely not.
Detail how handlers must handle public interactions and maintain proper access etiquette safely.
The law is very clear on this. The service animal must be under the control of its handler at all times. This means they must be harnessed, leashed, or tethered, unless the handler's disability prevents using these devices or these devices interfere with the service animal's safe, effective performance of tasks.
And if they can't use a leash?
Even then, the handler must maintain control through voice, signal, or other effective controls. The dog cannot wander away, approach other customers, bark repeatedly in a quiet place like a movie theater, or show any signs of aggression.
Makes sense.
If a service dog is out of control and the handler does not take effective action to control it, or if it is not housebroken, the business has the legal right to ask that the animal be removed from the premises.
Which brings up the most exhausting part of the lifestyle. The general public. We all know people love dogs. We see a golden retriever in a grocery store, and the natural human instinct is to make kissy noises, reach out, and pet the dog. This is known in the community as drive-by petting.
The dreaded drive-by petting.
How do we educate the public about service dog access rights? And more importantly, how does a handler politely but firmly stop strangers from distracting their working dog?
This raises an important question. It's a daily battle. To the public listening, you must completely ignore a service dog. No eye contact, no talking to them, no petting.
Seriously, just pretend they are invisible.
Yes. If you distract a dog while they are working, you might cause them to miss a subtle biochemical shift, and their handler could collapse and suffer a severe injury. You wouldn't walk up and start pushing the buttons on someone's oxygen tank, right?
Of course not.
So do not touch their medical dog. For the handlers, my advice on maintaining calm behavior during busy public outings is to practice your advocacy scripts.
Scripts. Like rehearsed lines.
Yes, you need to develop a polite but unbreakable boundary. When someone approaches, put your body between the person and the dog, put your hand up in a stop motion, and say clearly, please do not distract him, he is actively working.
Short and direct.
You do not owe anyone an explanation of your medical history. You have to learn to be a fierce, uncompromising advocate for your dog's focus.
And this raises an important question about navigating shared public spaces. Handlers have rights, but other members of the public have rights too. What happens when a handler encounters someone who has a severe dog allergy or an intense phobia of dogs?
The ADA actually addresses this directly. Allergies and fear of dogs are not valid reasons for denying access or refusing service to people using service animals.
Really? They can't ask you to leave if someone is scared.
No, they cannot. However, a handler has a responsibility to respect the public space. When a person who is allergic to dog dander and a person who uses a service animal must spend time in the same room or facility, they both should be accommodated
How do you do that?
by assigning them, if possible, to different locations within the room or different rooms in the facility. It is about fostering a harmonious environment. The handler should always maintain a reasonable distance, keep the dog tucked tightly under their chair or table, and ensure their dog isn't invading anyone else's personal space.
When we pull back and look at this entire ecosystem, we have to discuss the profound lifestyle changes owners experience when living with a service dog.
It changes everything.
You aren't just a person going to grab a gallon of milk anymore. You are a highly visible ambassador. Every time you leave your house, you have to pack your dog's gear, treats, and water. You have to mentally prepare to intercept toddlers, educate aggressive business owners, and politely decline people trying to take photos of you.
It's exhausting.
A simple 10-minute errand can turn into a 45-minute gauntlet of intense emotional labor and public advocacy. You never get to just be anonymous in public again.
It is an immense, invisible mental load. The training never truly stops. Every interaction is a training moment. You are constantly monitoring your dog's stress levels, checking the temperature of the pavement to protect their paws, and scanning the environment for untrained pets that might lunge at your working partner. It requires constant vigilance.
So, what does this all mean? When you synthesize all of this from carefully selecting the precise genetic raw material, the critical 8-week neurological socialization, the thousands of hours of microtiming and behavioral shaping, the $25,000 price tags, the heartbreak of washouts, and the daily exhausting burden of navigating a world that doesn't always understand your rights. The emotional and practical weight of this journey is simply staggering.
It is. There's no sugarcoating it.
But for those who make it to the other side, the ultimate reward is a completely transformed life. You are gaining a brilliant, dedicated partner that fundamentally mitigates the terrifying challenges of your disability. You regain your independence. You regain your life.
It is the most remarkable interspecies partnership on the planet. And as we conclude this journey, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
I'd love to hear it.
Next time you are in that grocery store and you see a service dog walking calmly past the aisles, seemingly just strolling along, look closer. Consider the unseen cognitive universe operating inside that animal's mind.
There is so much going on in there.
They are actively suppressing their natural canine instincts to chase, to bark, to sniff food. They're processing complex environmental data, analyzing spatial geometry to guide their human around obstacles, and simultaneously running a real-time chemical analysis of their handler's blood through the air.
It's just mind-blowing.
They are doing all of this out of a profound, cultivated bond. Marvel not just at their obedience, but at the incredible active intellect of the working dog.
Thank you for listening, dear Brigadiers, and if you have any questions, visit the source article on Dogazilla magazine at dogazilla.com. That was all for this episode, and until the next time, bye to all listeners of the Bark Brigade podcast.